Hey y'all, Tom D from Random Tandem here. I'm about to show you all sort of a very early playtest of the SimpTach system. It's sort of separate from the DaVinci system. Now, some of you who didn't really get it in my post, what it is basically SimpTach is meant to be the rules, sort of the physics of the universe, and then DaVinci is going to be the first. It sort of overlays. The stories kind of overlay on the rules, much the way that life overlays on the physics of the world. Which I think will be good. I mean, it's sort of like GURPS or something like that, or the D20 system, or something that's designed to have stories built on top of it, but on its own really isn't that useful unless you're just looking to do strategy games or something, just straight off. But even those would need some additional rules, just because the sort of base level attributes that I allot for characters are fairly simplistic, so you'd probably want a few more things available to you unless you're just a big fan of simplicity. If you really like just having a handful of attacks available to you, then you could play SimpTach on its own without anything else. Now, the name actually came from Simple Tactics, and for whatever reason in my head, I don't know, I think it's because I played Chrono Trigger when I was young, so there was always this. Any of you who played Chrono Trigger on the SNES or later on when it came out on the PlayStation, it had these maybe three or four different options. It was like attack and tech, TECH period, and then like item and I don't know, something else, maybe escape or something. Whenever you were in a battle, it was a fairly popular role playing game by Squaresoft back in the day. But tech. For a long time I thought it was like technology, and then it turned out to be techniques, because I was playing it when I was, I don't know, 10, 8, something like that, and I was never a big fan of reading at that point in time, so I didn't bother to like read the instruction manual until years later when I got it on the PlayStation. Because actually the PlayStation version, I don't know why I'm saying all this, it doesn't really matter. The PlayStation version had sort of these videos, these sort of cutscenes in between different points that were drawn by the same guys who did Dragon Ball Z, which was a fairly popular cartoon and comic book prior to that. Japanese manga, anime, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know the minutia, the differences there. Anyway, so for some reason that spelling got stuck in my head, the tech, and when I was writing the first draft of SimpTach, instead of just doing TAC, I thought for whatever reason it got jumbled up in my head, and I thought TACH. That makes sense. It sounds kind of cool. So thus SimpTach. And DaVinci is sort of that'll make sense later when you see some of the content, sort of some of the origins of the world that I'm writing. It's more or less an alternate history when it comes down to it, but I don't have the best grasp of history, so it's going to be loose at best. It's basically fanciful. I don't, all the time I see these posts on like IO9, which is a sci-fi blog in the Gawker set of blogs, the Gawker network. But yeah, IO9, just the letters I, letter O, number 9. A lot of times they'll do like a rundown of some alternate universe game, and they'll be like, well, this wasn't accurate here and here and here, which is really great if you're a big fan of history. But if you don't have the best grasp of it, you don't really care. You just, if you're just a fan of storytelling or fantasy, it doesn't really matter how accurate it is, as long as it's a good story. So yeah, that's what we're doing today, and basically I'm doing this because a handful of reasons. First off, this whole intellectual property thing has gone insane. It seems like intellectual property lawsuits are, de rigueur these days. It's just part of, it's like lawsuit du jour. It's just what you get used to. And, that fact, I figure it's best to have, put down right here, in case someone a couple of years down the road says, you copied me, blah, 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 blah. I can be like, no, according to YouTube, I posted the early journals of this game then, and I didn't copy you at all. I mean, maybe independently we thought up some of the same ideas. That happens, certainly. Like how multiple people tried to patent the light bulb at the same time. Just, ideas don't tend to be that unique given similar situations and upbringings and environments. People tend to turn out pretty much the same, more or less, and their ideas don't generally end up all that unique. So I'm pretty certain that someplace else there is somebody else designing something fairly similar, who has already designed something fairly similar, and the next couple of years will design something fairly similar. But right now, this is, my SimpTach. So I'm just going to go on ahead and post some videos about it. All right, so that's enough blah blah blahing. Let's get down to the actual business of it. Let's see, some basics first, just in case anybody's curious. My I think I'm going to turn this more into a production diary type thing. Just do several videos about it as I make it. My inspirations is a cop patrolling my neighborhood. I don't know why, but I just don't trust cops. I never do anything illegal, but I don't trust them. Anyway, right. So, my inspirations include some games that I played when I was a kid, certainly a variety of video games, because I started on the Nintendo when I was quite young. And then every couple of years I saved up whatever money I could get my hands on and traded in whatever system I had at the time for the next big thing, so it went, I had the Nintendo, and then I had Genesis and Super Nintendo, and after that I had a PlayStation. Then it was a couple of years because I got a job for a while, and I was going to college, so I got the PS2 when that came out. I think I was just starting college and just starting to get my first paychecks from part-time jobs, and that were mine, just not allocated towards anything, so I just kind of blew them for the most part. So I got a PS2 for a while, which was pretty cool, but for some reason I got in my head that it was a good idea to go and mod it, and I screwed it up for a while, and then it never really ran quite properly even after I got it working again, and I don't know, there weren't that many games that I really cared for it. I got in pretty heavy with PC gaming for quite a few years, and then finally I got an Xbox here for a while that actually I had an Xbox, and then I sold that a few years back, and I got the 360 a couple years after that came out. And I've had that for a while, and finally I'm just selling that because all that I play anymore is World of Warcraft on the PC. But anyway, inspirations include things like a lot of FASA games that I played when I was a kid, when I was a tween and teen, as they call that, mid-range now. I don't think the word tween existed when I was that age. But anyway, let's see. FASA games, if anybody remembers Shadowrun, I think it was in 2nd or 3rd edition when I played it. Probably 3rd, because it was shortly before it got discontinued by when FASA got sold or went bankrupt or whatever it is they did. Battletech, played a lot of Battletech. Those are sort of inspirations. Probably Shadowrun more than Battletech, although Battletech is where I take my tactics cues from. Let's see. Other things. Definitely Mordheim. I played Mordheim. It was sort of this simplified version of Warhammer that was produced by the same company. And finally, recently I've been playing D&D, so that's been a fairly large influence lately. So anyway, those are the various things that sort of got in my head and jumbled around and mixed around, and eventually I added my own experiences and my own desires in a game, and that's where SimpTach came out. So anyway, let's get down to the actual playtest. Hey everyone, because of the way that the videos ended up kind of chopped apart and such, I actually ended up putting the playtest video into another video, so y'all can check that out on our video channel, on our YouTube channel. Other than that, let me know what y'all think of the idea, especially the playtest video, which should be up next.